Hi, this is Eric Martin with BoardGameGeek. I'm here with Corey from the WitchBorn Corporation, and we are looking at the WitchBorn Enter Perdition, which is a massive game. When Corey and I were emailing back and forth trying to figure out what we're going to show on camera, he's like, we have the giant version of the game, and then we've got like the elephantine version of the game. Trying to see all what we're going to show on camera. So we will cover as much as we can in the time that we have. Corey, nice to have you here. Maybe you can start first with an idea of what the world is like. What kind of world are we entering as we play the WitchBorn?
So this one is... I'm an old game master, old DM, right? And I've got a collection of miniatures that's unbelievable down in the basement. And I wanted to create a game where the game master could play too. And so that's kind of where this started. And the big idea was the WitchBorn, you know, kind of the idea behind it was that this is a post-apocalyptic world, and the elven witch named Chalisea accidentally opened a breach between our world and the netherworlds, and it let these formless demonic spirits into our otherwise normal fantasy world. And these demonic spirits can inhabit corpses and animate them. And so first thing people think is zombies, but these demonic spirits are very intelligent, very powerful. And so they tend to be faster, stronger, and smarter than actual, humans that they overtake. And so they have just decimated the world. I mean, it is a disaster. And so this is a team building game. You are playing an adventuring party that we call a war clan. And you start off brand new, very weak, very poor, all 0 level. And you go through hundreds of different adventures trying to survive. First, you learn how to survive the WitchBorn apocalypse because like 99% of the world's population is gone. And once you start to learn how to survive in this world, your characters can level up and become heroes and eventually take the fight back to the WitchBorn and kind of try and win the world back.
Okay. So is there
is quite a bit.
I was just going to say, is the game one entire campaign, or there's multiple levels that we go through, and it's a little more free?
What we're going to show today is the starter set, and it is comprised of 2 adventures. It's Enter Perdition, which we're showing we're showing the big battle map, like 3/4 of the big battle map there on screen. And then the other side, when we get to it, is called the Pit. And it is an old paladin garrison that is probably one of the last safe things even close to a city that keeps people safe from the WitchBorn. And a race called the Guild, who are little Nezumi, they're ninja rat men. They've taken over the old cathedral and turned it into the world's last standing bar. And so it's a place to blow off steam and get away from WitchBorn. So there are, besides this adventure, there's these 2 adventures, there's many, many more. And the app, which we'll get into a discussion on, kind of tells a story. I talked about being a game master who wants to play. The app will tell a story, and it's totally random what happens. And so as you play, you could play Enter Perdition 50 times and never have the same game because there's so many random elements. And then you could play the Pit 50 times and never have the same game. And between conventions and stuff, we've probably played 1,000. We've probably played Enter Perdition 1,000 times and never even had a remotely close result. You know, so it's very interesting that way too.
Okay, so a few questions to start with. You mentioned the GM is also a player in the game. How many players does the game accommodate?
So it is, with this version, we're showing Enter Perdition with the pit. It's set up to be 1 to 6 players. So because there is an app, you can play solo, and you can play up to 6 at a time. And to be honest, we've done 8. So it's plays pretty quick with 4. That's kind of like the sweet spot. But
okay.
2 players is a great game too, and 6 players just takes a little longer.
Okay. So you mentioned during the description of the world that we're in, it's a fantasy world, you said. Is it fantasy only because of the presence of the WitchBorn, or are there other fantasy elements as well that come in?
So it's all traditional fantasy based, and then some of my own inventions on top of that. So in the core set, there's 6 basic war clans. You're going to have the dwarves, which are featured on the screen right there. And you can play a war clan of dwarves. You can play a war clan of elves. And what's really cool about the elves, if somebody wants to just flip, Lincoln or Nikki, just flip the elf book open, is when you go to page about 5, right there. Page 4, one over, not the map, but yeah. These are kind of your starting warriors that you can choose from. Everybody has 90 gold to spend on their starting warriors, and you start with a little war clan of 8 warriors, and they have specific stats and skills that they start with. But one fun thing about elves is they start with a fairy power. So if you turn the page of the book, explains what the fairy powers are. And some of these are really cool, like they're innate magic, and you can, your fairy can form a little emerald green ball of eldritch fire and hurl that as a weapon. But if you roll really well on the table, you may get to be some kind of really unusual fey creature like a Banty or a Brownie or a Dinshinkus or a Dryad. So there's tons of variety. You don't even know when you're creating your initial war clan what you're going to end up with and what kind of unusual creatures you might have in there besides just the basic elves. And elves are unique because they cause the cataclysm, and they kind of feel guilty about it, right? So they really want to stop the WitchBorn, and that's become their primary goal instead of tending the animals and the birds and everything else that they normally did. And up on the screen now is the orcs. Orcs are, before the cataclysm, the orcs were the dominant race of all of Perdition. They were indeed the rulers of men and elf. They had a giant empire, and the empire has come crumbling down around them, but they are the most militaristic. Think Mongols from history. They kind of took over the world. The orcs did much the same. And they're great on horseback, and they're great with bows and a lot of things that people might not expect with orcs. And then pull up another book, the Norn are right there. The Norn are human barbarians, and what makes them unique is kind of like the elves, you have an ancestry roll when you first create your Norn, and if they are related to the Fates, they may have shape-shifting abilities. So your berserker might be able to turn into a werebear or a wereboar or a werewolf or some other, massive creature, keep all its intelligence, all its abilities, but have that massive power on top of that too. So Norn tend to be a lot of fun. A lot of people don't like humans in fantasy games. They are really, really unique in that way.
Okay.
And we've got a couple more left. We didn't talk about the paladins. Paladins are a human organization, and their sole goal is to eliminate the Witchborn. They believe that the talisman that Chalisea used to open the breach survived the initial explosion, and that if they can find Chalicea's talisman, they can perhaps stop the inflow of Witchborn and then just get to the point of killing everyone that they find along the way. So those are the races that make up the core set. And there's a lot of variety of they all have advantages and disadvantages as you play, but it really makes for what I always tell people is this is a kind of a war clan building game. You're starting off at 0 level and you want to build your heroes. So you start with this little band of 8 of those characters, all with their own unique skills, and they earn experience as we play. And in the game, we call experience shadow. And so as they earn shadow points, they level up. Every time you level up, you get a new skill. And it's not like a choice of, hey, I get a few more hit points or I fight a little bit better. Literally, I'll see if I can hold it up to the screen here. When you level up, you can get a choice of about 75 different skills that you can choose from. And there's also War Clan specific skills. So you can put a lot of thought. I've got healers. I've got people who are great at missile combat. I've got people who are great at stopping Witchborn in X different ways. And so it really becomes a strategy game in that standpoint too.
With a lot of customization, I guess, based on whatever you are experiencing at that time, since each scenario will play out differently. You can customize a lot more in reaction to that.
And we should talk about the app, because I know we're about half done already. The app is kind of what makes each adventure unique, and it works, and the apps are different for each adventure. They're totally free. There's going to be a note that comes in the set that tells you how to get to them. And we've gone to a web-based app versus a phone-based app because now it works on more devices. You can run it on your Kindle, your tablet, your laptop, anything, or your phone. So it just makes it more accessible to more people. But the way the Enter Perdition story starts out is you're out wandering in the Cassell Plains here, kind of this desert, and you're destitute. You have no money. You're poorly equipped, and that kind of burning ship that you see in the lower corner, that's actually an airship, and you see it flying overhead to begin the adventure, and you're like, wow, I wish we could get one of those. That's really cool. But then flames sprout up and the pilot starts freaking out on deck, and you see him tossing things overboard, and it's plummeting to the ground, and before long the ship just takes a nosedive, crashes into the plains, catches on fire. If the pilot somehow managed to fling himself free, he's probably dead now and could be Witchborn. but you figure, hey, the stuff he was throwing overboard, that could be valuable to us. We've got nothing. And so at the beginning of the game, you're going to roll a D66 roll, and there's little white numbers all over the map. And that's going to correspond to D66 rolls. And basically what happens is we're going to put out 5 or 6 discovery markers, depending on how many players are playing. And the object of the game is basically get to a discovery marker. The app will tell us what you find there. It could be that valuable airship cargo that you were looking for, or it could be a WitchBorn trying to rip your face off. You won't know until you get there. And so eventually you do find the airship cargo, and you find that there's a couple other war clans also vying for that. So it becomes a nice game of monkey in the middle, where the person with the treasure is kind of getting attacked from all sides, because it's like, nowadays, I didn't say this at the beginning, you have no idea if your opponent is really a human or really a dwarf or really an orc. They could be witchborn. You have no idea, because if they died of natural causes and were reanimated by a witchborn spirit, they could be witchborn posing as humans. They're smarter than humans now. So there's always a level of suspicion.
So when you
if
say
somebody
opponent as
wants
well,
to
this
grab
is
the app, we can kind of show you how it works real quick.
sure.
You just hit, if somebody successfully investigates and makes a discovery, you just hit the draw button at the top, and I have no control, so we might get a mild one, or we may get something cool. Pull it down just a little. Yeah, so this is a very mild one. So right at the top, it says found something, and then it says 1 SP. That means that the warrior who found this discovery is going to earn 1 shadow point, and that's going to go towards earning levels. So at 5 points, you earn first level. And so the other thing you know is the lower the point value, the milder the encounter it is. It's not going to be anything bad with found something. In this case, all you did was find something in the prairie grass, and it's weathered debris. It's not what came from the airship cargo. And so you're going to have a chance to, there's GM notes below. And so you wouldn't share this with the discoverer, but they'll have the decision to investigate or not. And so if they want to spend another turn there investigating, then they can make a random roll, and the better they roll, the better the treasure that they may find. But let's hit draw again, please. And let's see if we can get a monster
specific.
or maybe a witchborn. Oh, that's a funny one. We'll skip that one. Hit draw again, please. That's a mild one. Draw again, please. We'll get something nasty sooner or later. That's the one we didn't want to get. That's the airship cargo. That's what we're looking for. So if you did find that, everybody would be scrambling to uncover the airship cargo, and that's where the game of monkey in the middle begins. But here's one. If we would have gotten this, it's fresh meat, and you find that there are dire wolves out on the plains stalking you as you're searching for the treasure. And in the GM notes, it's going to tell you how to handle the dire wolves. And one of the unique things about this game is it's scalable. So where it says war clan value, and it tells you how many dire wolves are appearing. So for example, if I'm playing this war clan of a 250 point value, I might be a little tougher than my opponent. So I'm going to face 2 dire wolves where they may have only faced 1 dire wolf. And so the game kind of grows with you as you get tougher. The monsters get tougher too. And dire wolves are really scary. Their stats are built right into the app. And one of the things we didn't mention was, as you're playing, let's say, Eric, you and I are playing, and I make the discovery, you would be my GM, and so you'd get to hold the app and make all the decisions and playing the monsters, and vice versa. If you had made the discovery, I become your GM, and that way it's always fair, and everybody gets to play, and everybody's just surprised. So,
Interesting.
Lincoln or Nikki,
I guess initially
go back.
I had thought of this as cooperative, but it does not sound like it. The way that you're doing,
This
or
is
is it cooperative?
this is both. So the recommended way to start is to play Enter Perdition as every man for himself. It's to kind of show the desperate times that we're in. Now, there are alternate ways to play this adventure. One's called Burning Sky, and that is a cooperative game where you play against WitchBorn centaurs. And so centaurs were the gentle poets and scholars of the plains, and they taught the people farming and much about song and everything. And because they were pacifists, they were some of the first creatures overwhelmed by Witchborn. And so there may not be a living centaur anywhere left in Perdition. And so if you run into centaurs in the base adventure, you're very scared. And Burning Sky is one where a person takes on the role of a GM, and they play the centaurs, and everybody else, you need everybody else to combine to have a chance against all those Witchborn centaurs. So we're actually playing a game of that at Gen Con Online next week. It's called Burning Sky. If anybody wants to join, there's still a few slots open. So that's a little plug there.
We have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to flip over to the pit, if we can do that.
Yes, please. Let's.
We have time here.
So the bonus of this set is it comes with the second adventure, right? Right on back. Good luck flipping that quick.
That's right. They're doing the green screen there. While they're doing that, I'll just mention we got some compliments on the minifigs in the chat. My co-host Beth was asking about a partnership with Reaper Bones Miniatures. I'm not sure. Is there something?
Yeah, so we've got a great partnership with Reaper Bones. Now, the new set here doesn't come with the bones, but you can add the bones miniatures in what's called the War Clans edition. And so you get miniatures for all 6 War Clans plus all the monsters that you might meet along the way.
Okay. So now we're looking at the pit.
Yeah, so this is the garrison that they've renamed Asylum, and it is run by a crazy old monk who they just call Brother Asylum now. And when you enter the gates, you have to promise that you will do whatever is in your power to help everyone within succeed and fight Witchborn whenever you're asked. The good news is the old cathedral kind of caved in during the cataclysm, and the floor actually caved in, and now it is turned into the world's last standing bar. And we've drawn it with the roof off. And if you zoom in on any of the bar, I'm kind of insane for little Easter eggs, so you'll find all kinds of crazy things at some of the tables, and my dog's in there, and just lots of nutty little things. But when you play this adventure, you just fill this place with miniatures. There's 11 miniatures for the help. There's tons of patrons. There's all the different war clans are in there. And you'll get sent on quests, and you'll meet people who you can trade with, and you can learn about some of the other adventures, and you might have a drink or two along the way. And before long, chances are a little bar brawl might break out. And so it's a fun way for new players to learn how the combat system works, and make a little loot and learn a lot of lore along the way too. So those are actually the intoxication templates that they're putting out. So I recently had an adventure where my team got blotto. That's about as drunk as you can be, and we got in a brawl. And my big old ogre took a swing, rolled an oops, which is a critical fail in this game. And the app tells us what happens on the oops, and it's totally random. I don't know if you have a chance to pull one up, Lincoln. I can tell you how to do it. But so that little icon to the top left on the drawbar, yep, hit that. And then there's a wound deck and an oops deck built in there. Hit the oops. And then there's melee, missile, and magic results. And go ahead and hit melee. This is what my ogre did. And I wasn't fortunate enough to get disarmed. My ogre actually got one that said, ouch. So he hit himself. I rolled damage on myself. I did so well that I took my ogre out. I wounded my ogre. And then all my comrades were so drunk and they were so freaked out, they all routed off the board. So I took out 7 of my own warriors with one swing. So things get nuts when you're a little drunk. Ideal. But and then again, this adventure is good for solo play, and there is a cooperative game which is a real challenge. It is called The Coven. And it is a group of Norn witches who try and take the place over. And everybody's got to fight to save the bar, but they may be drunk at the same time. So it gets very interesting that way. And then the bonus, not included in any of the sets, is
we got 30 seconds to
most
wrap.
of this adventure is played in the pit. But there's another adventure called Nightfall that uses the rest of the map that people can add.
Okay. That is a lot going on. Just an incredible package there. A huge board, a huge world. The Asylum really, it looked very dramatic. It made me think of the Roman Colosseum, just sort of the walls around it. And then you've got all the activity going on down at the bottom there. Corey, thank you very much for showing the WitchBorn Enter Perdition. This was... it was a huge look. We got compliments on the art in the chat from people watching. Thank you very much for showing this. It's very interesting to see
I really appreciate
the breadth of the world that you created there. Thank you very much, and wish you a good day.